Hey everyone, welcome to What Could Go Wrong Live. Um, if you've been following me for any length of time, you know that the name of my show is legit my life and everything that I do. So it really is coming at it with I'm going to do this, we're going to grow together, what could go wrong, we'll figure it out and learn from it. So that's fun. In the spirit of What Could Go Wrong Live, my guest who's supposed to be here today is having technical difficulties and is not here. But maybe she'll jump in, maybe she won't. But for the next couple of minutes, you just get to hear me talk. So you're welcome. We were talking today about what it looks like to define success. And is it possible for learners and children to be able to define their own success, or is it completely irresponsible for adults or educators to allow them to create their own version of success? And I love this topic. Interestingly, and I was in a conversation earlier with a bunch of other education revolutionists, if you will, talking about or listening to learners talk about what education looks like for them, the pieces that they've loved, the pieces that they would love to see changed. And a lot of the big piece was treating them and seeing them as humans, as equals, as individuals, as like real people with real opinions and real thoughts about moving forward and those types of things. And so I think that's a huge part of all of this is if we are looking to revolutionize education and really bring it forward into what the future of education look like, we have to follow the people that are going to be leading that future. And it's not us, it's not the adults, not the educators, it's the students. And so in that kind of vein, I'm going to go off in a different direction because Paula couldn't be with us. So my daughters are 9 and 11. And we take on this education journey together, the three of us, and kind of figure out what we're doing. So my oldest, who's 11, has done private school, public school, charter school, co-op, and homeschool. So she has had experiences across the board. And the way that we do it is we test it out, we make hypotheses about it, we test it out, and then we evaluate what we like, what we didn't like, what we want to see, what we want to change, and then we kind of go from there. And so she started out in different places. We've made some changes, and then over the past year, she has been we've been doing homeschools. She was part of a learning community called Galileo, which was a student-led learning community where she engaged with other student-led learners. I don't know if that's what you call it. Other learners who were leading their own education, and they had a whole community where they had different clubs and resources, and instead of teachers, they had facilitators, and it was a good experience. She enjoyed it. She did all kinds of things. As we're getting to the end of the year, we're now discussing, okay, what do you want to do next year? Do you want to go back to Galileo? Do you want to homeschool again outside of Galileo? Do you what is it that you're looking to do? Do you want to go to public school? And I think if you've, again, been following me for any period of time, you have a decent understanding on my views and thoughts on traditional education. However, my as strong-willed or whatever you think about me, take all of that, multiply it by a couple hundred, and you have my daughter. So she is also very opinionated and strong-willed and a little stubborn. And so she came to me and said, I want to go to public school next year. She has friends who are having a experience inside of public schools, private schools in the area. She has certain things that she wants to experience and, presented her case to me, Venn diagram and all. And it was, I want to go to public school. Here's why. Here's what I understand will be different, a lot different, right? 5 days a week, very regimented, 8 to 3. You don't get to take YouTube breaks. You don't get to go outside and play in the mud, right? This is what it is. And these are the expectations, testing, all those things that you have not experienced inside of the learning environment we've had inside our home. You will have to experience inside of a traditional education model. So I said, okay, if that's what you want to do and you researched and thought about it and really compared your experiences and this is something you want to take on, understanding the negative and the positive consequences that come with it, like, let's do it. Why not? I'm with you. Because here's my thoughts. While I could sit with her and say, no, traditional education is not what is best for you. That is not the best experience you receive. You'll receive a higher quality experience in this realm. You've already done 6th grade. You don't need to go into 6th grade. You're already doing grades way higher than that. Here's all the things you're going to miss. Here's what is going to suck inside of that. But I feel like that approach of me coming at her and saying, no, this is not what you should experience. This is where you'll experience success, is arguably the same concept as what traditional education would be imposing upon her, saying, this is exactly what you need to experience. This is why this will make you most successful. This is what you need to do, how you need to do it, why you need to do it. And while I could make a very strong case of why traditional education is not my favorite, and as her parents say no and just refuse to sign her up for that, I feel like allowing her to make that choice inside of her education, her learning experience, for better or for worse, is part of allowing her to, just build her own version of success. And so we made a deal. All right, we're going to take this on. You understand that it comes with these responsibilities. You have to do homework, right? Like homework, you have to get up early, you have to put on clothes, like not pajamas, real things, go to school. Yes, we've agreed on all of those. Cool. I'm on your side. I'm with you every step of the way. We will do this together. We'll do homework together, or get you to school, or put you on the bus. I don't know. I'm not quite decided on that yet, but I'm with you. As much as I would not choose this, I'm going to stand with you. We're going to figure this out together. And at the end of the year, we'll reevaluate. And if you really enjoyed it and feel like you got something from it, and we can kind of bring all together the facts and see that you're growing and learning in important ways, then, let's keep doing it. If you get to the end of the year and you're like, oh, that was not what I wanted, I'm struggling in these areas, I did not appreciate that, whatever, then we'll start over with another path to education. And I've had some people come back to me saying, that's a lot of changes. Like, she's gone to many different styles of school, versions of schools. And that can't be good for them. Here's my 2 cents on that for what it's worth. She's involved in the conversation, right? It's, hey, what do you think about this? Do you want to, when she was going to public school, when she switched from public school to a private setting, it was a conversation. Hey, this opportunity has come up for you to go to an alternative model private school. What do you think? Would you like to go? Here's the pros, here's the cons. We went back and created a Venn diagram, what she wanted to experience, what she didn't like about her current, what she hoped for in her future. And then she made a choice, and she chose to go to that private school. She was there for a year before we transitioned to something else. And so I think you could argue with it both ways, and I'm sure plenty of people would, about the, is it really good for her to be transitioning from school to school, different experiences? Would it be better for her to stay in one place, for better or for worse, and just take that on and, experience all those experiences side of that? I don't know. I guess we'll never know. But I think if I come back and say, this is what's best for you, absolutely 100% of the time, regardless of how you're feeling, what you're experiencing, then I go back to defining her own version of success instead of allowing her to create it on her own, and experience it on her own. Because I could say to her over and over again, this is why I believe traditional education is not the best for you. But until she experiences it, all she's doing is listening to me and having to trust me. And sometimes she doesn't. That's fine. So that is what's currently happening in my world around this concept of allowing learners to define their own success. She's done that in smaller ways in her actual learning processes and what she's taken on, my younger one as well. But the big way that we're working on that right now is actually making a school transition into a new way. Oh, yes. In Judaism, we have a saying, educate a child according to their path or way, which I so agree with that. Like, I think a lot of people come back to me and are saying, but she's only 11, but she's only this, or but she's a kid, or but you're her parent, or whatever. Yes, of course, I am there to ensure that she is safe, she is taken care of, she is growing, she is learning, right? She's only experiencing what she can experience. I'm there for her to talk with her about it and figure it out, right? I'm her partner in this. I'm her parent. I'm responsible for her. But I just feel like I had said before, she is a human with feelings and emotions and experiences who wants to try and experience things. And as long as they fall inside the safe realm for her, I want her to take the path that she feels like is best for her. And then we'll figure it out along the way, because what could go wrong. So that's kind of my spiel on that version of success, or creating a different version of success. And so from there, I'm going to take off another rabbit trail, because I don't have anybody here to talk with. So I'm just going to talk at you. Feel free to leave at any point, or just hang out. It's fun here. Leave a comment, because otherwise, I don't know you're here. So personally, my version of success has always been defined or identified by standards that other people have set for me. If you've seen my posts the past couple days, you've seen my mini rants on kind of deconstructing pieces of my life and then reconstructing it to a version that aligns with my true self. We actually talked about dismantling and then created a new word, remantling, instead of deconstructing and reconstructing. I think it's like we're going to dismantle and then remantle, and it's going to be fine. But the process that I've taken on specifically over the past 8 months intentionally, right? It started prior to that, was really looking back into what are the standards that I hold for myself, or the standards that I'm holding my life to, my aspirations, my goals, and whatever. What am I holding, and why are they there? Did I put them there? Do I still agree with them? What needs to be taken apart? And this kind of started in August of 2020 when I lost my job. The school that I was directing closed, and I no longer had this school director title, right? Which for the first time in many years didn't have the school director title. I had gotten used to this whole, I have an office, I have a title, I have a little badge, I'm the leader, I have a team, I have people, people know my name when I come to work. It was a whole thing that I didn't even realize had become this validation in my life. And so when all of that went away, I was initially relieved. You know what? I don't have subs texting me in the middle of the night, or teachers texting me in the middle of the night to figure out where we're going to sub for inside of my job. And I was really relieved for that part to go away. But as time went on, I began to notice that I was much more dependent upon this title and this validation or whatever, this image of myself that I originally thought that I was. And it caused me to really have to begin to do some work internally to figure out what's happening. Why am I feeling this loss? And understandably, part of it was because I lost my job, I lost my team, I lost all of the things that came from that. The entire school shut down. So yes, but there was more to it for me. My entire adult life, I had essentially worked in 2 different schools and been leading in 2 of them. And so it was weird to suddenly no longer have that piece in my life. And I started to evaluate other things, the church that I was going to, the marriage that I was in, all kinds of pieces started coming up to the surface. And I was working with a coach who helped me weed through this. But essentially, long story short, I've already had a long story, but we're going to shorten it here for you guys. Long story short, I started to take all of these pieces of, this is what success looks like for you as a Christian woman. This is what success looks like for you as an educator. This is what success looks like for you as a mom. This is what success looks like for you. All right. And just go down the list of all of these titles that I had, these roles that I held. I was allowing all these other people to come in and identify, this is what success looks like. Here is the box that you need to fit in. Ready, set, go. And if you don't fit inside this box, then fix this, shave this off, recolor that, change it, and get it back into the box. Hi, Michael. And so I had never really even noticed that the box was there. I was just living inside of this, and steadily my anxiety was increasing. I struggled with depression. All of these things were increasing, and I couldn't figure out why, because on the outside, I was living all of the things that were supposed to be successful, right? I had I had a long marriage. I had 2 kids who were doing really well. I, lost my job, but then started a new job and had success inside of that, inside of this consulting role and all those types of things. We owned our house. I had a nice car. I blah, 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 went to church, did the things that I was supposed to do. And yet here I was living inside of this box that I didn't know that I was in and literally dying. And then a friend of mine, Jenny, sent me a book called Untamed by Glennon Doyle. And if anybody wants to know what I want to be when I grow up, it's Glennon Doyle. Maybe minus the lesbian part. Nah, I don't know. We'll see. It's fine. But it's really, that was the book that kind of opened the conversation. And she talked about standing on the edge of a cliff and seeing like what your power looks like, where you can go if you really step into your power. But if you do that, if you recognize that you want to burn down this box and really step into your own power, right, your own version of success, then you have to understand how much you are losing, how much you are going to have to dismantle. And she spoke about it in there, like if she took that step off that cliff, then she had to own the fact that she was going to dismantle every part of her life that she had spent her entire life building. And that was where I stood. If I really owned and understood this power that I knew that I could step into and burn down this box, luckily it was cardboard, then I really did have to begin to dismantle every piece of my life. And that's what I did. I worked with my coach, who was so important for me along the way, and began to do like the intense work of figuring out who I was, not what other people had said that I was, and pulling away all of those titles, and then taking all of the pieces of my life, my car, my marriage, my job, my kids, my volunteer at church, my religion, my faith, whatever, and pulling them back into, if you understand yourself, what of these pieces still align with who you are and what don't? Did you put them there? Did someone else put them there? And all of those types of things. And it was really, really hard to see how little of the things that I had structured around me as success were actually my things. And how many of the things that were structured around me as success were things that other people had put on me. And that I just accepted as reality, accepted as truth. And as much as I thought that I was a rebel, turns out I wasn't as much as I originally intended to be. I am now, so that's good. But I wasn't then. And I know, like Kevin, I see you here. I know you can relate to that concept of just having to burn all that down. But I thought that I was a rebel, but now we're kind of like Rebel 2.0. So over the past 6 months, you guys pretty much know about the job situation. I'm no longer a school director. I'm taking on this other thing. I'm doing consulting, whatever, why not, what could go wrong? I'm obviously doing this podcast situation, whatever's happening right now. Then we moved out of the house that I was in into a new house, as kind of a, let's try this new thing. Maybe moving this will help. Why not, what could go wrong? Moved into a new house. It didn't make the changes that I was wanting it to make. So now we are selling that house. So I'm moving again. It's fine. I am getting a divorce from my husband of 13 years. That has been a whole process situation, that we're seeing some actually really healthy movement forward, but never something that I would have thought that I would do, never something that I would have been allowed to do under my previous, box that I was living in. So I'm selling my house, selling my car, have a new job, getting a divorce, moving into, I signed a lease on an apartment back where I used to live. Like every piece, like the church that I was going to, just, I don't even know that I could list all of the things that I have taken apart slowly but surely over this past 6-8 months. And there's a lot of joy in that. There is so much excitement walking into what I'm walking into now, and understanding that the choices that I'm making, the things that I'm doing, align with who I am, because I finally have an understanding of who I am and what I'm doing with my life-ish, mostly, right? Part of that is really, really holding on to the what could go wrong concept and taking that on. Yes, Kevin, it's fine. Like, it's fine, everything's fine, I'm fine, and kind of letting go of those expectations and then figuring out what is next, just one step at a time, which I've not really been great at, and that's hard. But the benefits of that have just been insane. Like the people that I have met, the opportunities that I have had, things that I talked with my coach about a year ago, of like, when she asked me, what do you want your life to look like in a year? If you had your ideal situation, right? And I ran to you in a coffee shop in a year, what would you tell me was happening in your life? And I couldn't tell her for several sessions, because I couldn't think past the pain that I was in. I couldn't think past the anxiety to even think about what was possible. There was that the future, like ideal situation, utopia, did not live in my brain because I was in so much pain and inside this box. I couldn't see past the box, right? But when I finally told her, I was like, I see myself working in education, working with other people who have a similar mindset of me, living in an apartment with my daughters who are pursuing their own version of success and happiness, and just living to live, not to meet these standards because we only have today, right? Every day is a bonus day because we don't even know if tomorrow's happening. So what does it feel like? What does it look like to live for today instead of other people's standards or tomorrow, and just all of that. And let me tell you, however many months later, 8 months later, those things that I couldn't even put into words then are all happening now. And it has been so much work. It is so much work. So much self-doubt has come in, trying to figure out what I'm doing, like reaching out to friends, finding my people who will ask me the right questions. And like, I have a coach for many things because coaches are so important, but it's just, I don't even know. I'm just rambling now, but I'm telling you, when we're talking about students and building their own version of success inside of their education and not defining it for them, what is really meaningful to me is that we also do that as adults. And we allow the other people in our life, learners, adults, whatever, to create their own version of success outside of whatever stupid box has been built for them. Like, can you burn down the standard that other people have set for you, keep what aligns with you, and forget the rest? And yeah, it's hard, but oh my gosh, like there is something there that is so worth it. There's something about figuring out who you are and why you do what you do that ignites this like fire, this things and words, like, I don't know, to just take off onto what you're supposed to do once you're free of all those expectations. And I mean, I lost friends, I literally lost jobs, I lost relationships, I lost a lot in it, but I gained so much more. And like my anxiety has decreased, my depression has decreased. Like, not that they'll never come back again, not that I don't experience them in some way throughout my everyday. That's just part of my superpowers. But I am now functioning from a place of, this is who I am. This is who I am, not who you have told me to be. And I reached out to a friend a while back, and I was like, I am 100% convinced that the coach that I worked with saved my life on multiple occasions. Like, that is not an exaggeration, literally saved my life on multiple occasions. There were some really, 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 really intense pieces of my experience that, had I not had someone to reach out to and say, I can't, and who would have just stood there with me, that it could have turned out very differently. And I cannot even explain how thankful I am for that person in my life. And then the other people who were not specifically my coach, but just came around me and we figured it out together. And I reached out to a friend and I was like, there is something that is happening that is like, I want this to happen for other people. I've experienced this. I know this feeling of stuckness, this feeling anxiety, depression, hopelessness, just all of that. Like, I know there are other people who are experiencing the same thing, and they sound crazy, but I want to walk with them in it. Like, I want to find them and say, I don't know what the light at the end of your tunnel looks like. I don't know where the end of your tunnel is. I don't even know, like, if you're in a tunnel or you're near that tunnel, like how many tunnels are over your tunnel. Like, you could be way deep underground. Have you made it to the tunnel yet? Like, I don't know what that means. I don't know what the answer is, but I can tell you that I want to stand with you and help you find whatever that light looks like for you at the end, because it's there, because someone did it for me. I have learned and grown so much through the process, and all I want is for other people to experience that same thing. So when I reached out to a friend and said, is it crazy that I want to do this? I hate coaches. I hate the term coaches. I don't hate coaches. I love coaches, saved my life. But I want to be that for someone else. I want to be that for people. I want to stand with people in that. I know that it's just such a need. And I know it sounds crazy. And I just kept saying to this person, like, I know it sounds crazy. I know it sounds crazy. And this person came back and said, Chelsea, like, you have lost your job and then, made yourself a whole new job, whatever it is that you're doing now. You're working in legislative bill review. You're working with international companies. You're working with charter schools. Like, you've built this whole thing and you're doing it. But the fact that you want to help other people through their own experiences because you just walked through it, like, that's the crazy piece. And I was like, I mean, when you say it like that, you make me sound a little crazy. So 2 days ago, I was messaging my friends and I was like, look, I want to do this. I know that there's a whole process. I should have a landing page and I should probably have like a logo or a title or like a funnel or something to do this. And I don't have any of it, but I want to jump off that cliff because there are people who are hurting. There are people who are not doing what they could be doing because they feel this stuckness. There are people that could be literally changing the world, but are stuck inside this box. And all I want to do is help them figure out that box and burn it down. But I don't have a funnel, so I can't start. And she was like, screw that, jump off the cliff, let's do it. So 2 days ago, I posted that I'm starting this coaching business thing, whatever it is that I'm doing. And essentially, I want to partner with other people who are experiencing that to burn down their own boxes and figure out where their light is and then change the freaking world. Like, that is what I want. I want that for students. I want it for learners. I want it for educators. I want it for parents. I want it for women. I want it for men. I want it for all of the things. And that's what I'm doing with my life. Like, those are all the words that I have. So here, to wrap this whole shenanigan into 1 or 18 sentences. Don't define success for other people. Show other people how to define their own success that is in line with who they are, because they will never succeed under someone else's version of success. And if you know what a funnel is or could bring me some funnel cake, Kevin or anybody out there, William or Michael, you could bring me funnel cake at any point in time. That would be super. And I don't even have a pitch, but if you or somebody who is ready to burn down that box they're living in and literally take on the world that they can change with only what they have, I am so wanting to stand there next to them and do that with them. So that is my whole spiel. I could just keep spieling, but I feel like 30 minutes is probably maxed out on the spiel. So Lois, Kevin, Michael, William, everybody, Kevin, yes, I did turn into you. It'll just be like a little story. 30 minutes later, I'm still telling the story. Thank you for hanging out with me. I got to use Restream to cast all this, so it went to all the different channels. So if you want to watch it later on YouTube, or you need to show it to somebody else, obviously you can catch the replay anywhere else. Michael, I will check my doorstep for the funnel cake that you're sending me, so I'm looking forward to that. Thank you for hanging out with me for my rant, and we will definitely reschedule what was actually supposed to be happening here today. But you got this like bonus What Could Go Wrong episode, so you're welcome. All right, y'all. Thanks for hanging out. I will see you next time on What Could Go Wrong Live.